everyone, this is Shika from the Samosa Budget. I hope you guys are doing well. Today's video is a May budget recap, and that involves seeing how we did according to our budget for the month of May. I look at two areas specifically, which is our fixed expenses and our variable expenses. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do. It really helps me out, and please hit the like button if you got some value from this video. Let's just get right into it. So throughout the month of May, I use this monthly expense tracker to track our variable expenses. This is the key that I use. At the end of the week, what I tend to do is either on a Friday or a Saturday, I will do a check-in for the week to see how well we did against our variable categories. So every week I will add up all of the amounts of money that we've spent according to these categories, and then I'll have a total for spent, remaining, and remaining per week. Remaining per week is really important at the beginning of the month, where you can still course correct. Like for example here, we spent a lot of money in week 1 for groceries, and it meant that we only had 193 left for the rest of the month. That gives us £64 a week, which actually would normally be okay, but right now we're doing online grocery and it's a little bit more expensive as we are steadfast Aldi shoppers, but right now we're avoiding the store because of social distancing. So we've completed 1, 2 and 3. I went ahead and filled in the figures for week 4. We only had a couple. We had an online grocery order which was a lot larger than I was expecting because my cats were up on the carpet and we needed some carpet cleaner. So that was like £8 or something. So it took us basically over our food budget. Eating out, we had 1 transaction for Uber Eats at 50% off. And then we had some unbudgeted expenses. So I'll take you back here. So you'll see I had 4 unbudgeted transactions. We had 1 for PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Online subscription. And then I was trialing out a new filming video editor called Filmora. I ended up having to purchase it for my Windows laptop because I wanted to see if my Windows laptop could cope with basic video editing. It turns out it couldn't, but by the time I'd finished editing the video and I had to export it, it was either buy the full version for Windows or have a watermark across my video, and I didn't want the watermarks. I was forced to spend £44 on the annual subscription for that. I then emailed them to let them know that the Windows laptop was not working out and I was going to go back to using my MacBook Pro. So I was told to purchase the same product for Mac and then send them another email to process a refund. I did that. I purchased the Mac program here and then I got a refund back here. What you will notice though is I paid £45 for the Mac software. My refund was less than that because of the exchange rate. Now, this is obviously what we look at on a weekly basis, and as we're doing it for the month, let's look how we did for the month. Now this looks super messy and it is like full of scribbles because I'm still trying to work out what kind of inserts I need to make sense of it all. What I did first was fill in all of our actuals for fixed and variable and sinking. So here we have the budgeted column and the actual column. And then what I did here was I just worked out what the differences were. So for food, our budget was £350, our actual was £332. So we had £18 left. I'm not sure why it looks like we were over on the weekly then, as this was the original budget set out at the beginning of May or towards the end of April. These are the figures to look at because after starting May, we might have had to reshuffle and redistribute this money between these categories if we overspent in one and underspent in another. So it's always good to check how we did against the original values. So here I've just gone and put a positive if there was money left over, and I've put the number in brackets if it was negative. So I know eating out, the original budget was 60. And then afterwards, after the first week, I realized that's not going to be feasible, and I topped it up to 120. So I did double this amount, but I wanted to know how we did against the original budget. So this is helping me out loads because we use YNAB to track our expenses, and at the end of the month, it's hard to tell what our original budget was because we've had to move money around to compensate. So this is the really, really messy version. And then we have a budget recap section here. And what I've done is go through each of these and put the variances in. What I have done is I've squared the categories that we were over, including unbudgeted down here. Now in reality, we have used the positives to cover these negatives, as we don't want to go into a new month with negatives, because it means you're using money that you don't have, and it also means you're causing a shortfall by using next month's money now. Overall, you can see that food accounted for 38% of our variable expenses, and then this was followed by cigarettes, which I need to give up, and then fun category, which includes allowances between us and stationery. So this is some rough maths I did. So for fixed, we still had £21 left for some bills that were less than what we had predicted, and we were over by £5.69 in other areas. So all we've done is taken the difference away from that, and that gives us £15.31 net. Then I did the same for variable. If I add up all of the ones that still had money left, so all I've done here is add up all of these positives and then take away the negatives. So we had £378 left in our variable categories, and then what I did was I took away anything that we were over, and then I got the net figure, which is £210.83. Because remember, we want to cover these reds. You don't want to move forward into a new budgeting period without having an idea of what you owe this month or how you've left this month. And from this £210.83, I took £200 away from that because we move money every week into our May savings pot or our monthly savings pot. For May, the goal was £200, and we're sort of trying to stick to £200 as a minimum. And we can either do 200 at the beginning, but what I found is it's mentally better and more motivating to transfer £50 every week, because it forces us to see which categories we're taking it from and understanding where the sacrifices have to be made so we can have a better future, essentially. As cheesy as that sounds, it's true. So I've taken this £200 away, and that leaves us with £10.83. Now, Wondershare is the name of video editing software. So the Mac software cost me £45 and my refund was £41.68. So because of the exchange rate, I'm £3.32p short. Can you see that here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this £10.83 to cover this £3.32. So what I'm actually left with is £7.51. So if I add up my variable and my fixed, for our clothing balance, we have £22.82. Last month's variable balance was £16.77. So we didn't do better than last month, but I am happy that we have something left. Even if it's close to zero, I would just be, at this point in time where things are so up in the air, I would just be grateful that it is as least negative as you can get it to be. And then what I've started to do is I need to redraw this because I have this blank space here, so I need to redistribute this. And I'm not sure I'm going to keep this going forward, just it seems more heartache than it's worth. I want to keep this process really streamlined and not be a chore. I have to spend lots of time to maintain. So even this budget recap, I think I might have to rejig how I do this. But for now, we're done for May, and as I said, our closing balance is £22.82. So we will transfer this into our emergency fund. Don't forget, every little amount adds up towards your goals. As long as you identify your goals and you know what you're working towards, even if it's nothing big or nothing sexy. I mean, right now we're working towards having 1 month of income set aside, and it is the least sexiest thing I think we've done financially. It's hard for us not to be paying down debt because we have a considerable amount of debt. You can see here that we've got a fair chunk of debt, and we've taken on a little bit more debt so we can make sure that the financing stays on 0%. So this value is going to go up in the month of June slightly. Our total debt payoff was 3% for this month. So if we look at the monthly goals that we set out at the beginning of May, the first one says £200 minimum savings for emergency fund. Yep, we've done that. April closing balance personal allowances 30 times 60. This was hard for us, but I think we did it between the two of us. I spent more money and hubby spent less. Eating out spends. So if I look, I'm just going to quickly look. Okay, so this is our April month, and let's see, for eating out we spent 122 April and the budget was 60. So clearly 60 is not a realistic goal for us. 122. And this month we spent 96. So we spent less versus April. We spent £26 less, which is great. My HP Instant Ink subscription doesn't start until next month, so that didn't happen, and my Canva Pro subscription started this month. We've had to jig around some sinking funds because NFL 2020 London is no longer happening. So the money we'd saved there, we've added to our emergency fund, and we've started saving for next year's, for NFL 2021. And as we've got a full 12 months to save for it, the amount to save is £74 a month. NFL 2020, because we only started it in January and we needed a lot of money by June, that was an aggressive sinking fund amount for £140. So I would say, I think we've done pretty decent overall. May is my last month on a full pay as I've been furloughed. So June, my paycheck that's coming tomorrow will have my pay reduction of 15%, and hopefully we have managed to cover that in our expenses. And the other thing to make sure is, before we leave the video, or in general when you're closing out your budget, is to make sure that you use how much you spent as a guide for next month. For June's budget, which I'll be filming later on today, I will make sure I take these values into consideration. Otherwise, I'm just basing my numbers on old data. You need this information to tell you what to do next. So we'll just leave it there. And for the month of May, we did okay. And I'm looking forward to moving on into June and seeing how we cope with a 15% reduction in pay. And that video should be up soon. See you in my next video. Bye.